Listening to Apostates on the Fringe. We're brought to you by Atheist Society of Knoxville. We're going to talk about like some politics and shit. I'm Alistair.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Dustin. What are you drinking now?
Sweetwater Blue.
Oh, it's such a good one.
It is.
You were
Not
bitching
too
about the
special.
Mango Kush. Why was that?
So a store close to us for like since the beginning of summer, I went to go get the Sweetwater Mango Kush, and a 6-pack rung out for like $20-something. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And I'm asking the cashier about it, and like she's like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. So, like, I figure she would point it out to a manager or something. And then, like, over the last several months, every now and then I go check, and it's still $20. But I've never had a chance to, like, get a manager over because I usually just run into that place and have somewhere to be.
This is something that's normally like $10 or $11 for
yeah,
a 6-pack,
it's a $10 6-pack.
Yeah.
So finally today I had time after getting off work, and I went in there and looked again, and it was $20. And
Fuck that.
finally I'm like, feeling like a Karen. Can I speak to your manager, please?
You Karen it?
like, I'm sure they could tell I was uncomfortable even asking that question. I'm like, fuck. But yeah, he came out. Well, she went over there first and was scanning it. She's like, this makes no sense. Hold on, let me go get him. And yeah, him and I talked for a while, and he said, yeah, it's priced for a 12-pack, not a 6-pack. He's like, but he's like, how long has it been like this? I'm like, dude, it's been months. So I was like, can you see in your system when the last time somebody has bought it? And he looks it up. He's like, yep, you're right. It's been months. I'm like, I would have been buying this probably like every other week had you had it in stock. I'm like, so they're supposed to finally be fixing that now, and I can get the beer that I really like.
Are those in glass bottles? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a story today that there's such a shortage on glass and glass bottles that it's producing a wine shortage in the U.S.
Really?
Which fuck that, because I love me some wine, but yeah, apparently so. Like the labor shortage and everything else due to the COVID pandemic is causing widespread issues. At first, aluminum cans was an issue. I remember you had bought a 6-pack of some can, and they'd repurposed that can. I think it was a Wiseacre, and you peeled the label off very easily, and it was like another brand,
yes.
Another flavor of their beer. So, but now it's moved on to glass bottles, and so now we may see some wine shortages. Sucks for me because I love wine. I haven't had this in a while. You were talking about your peanut butter, and I haven't had one in a while. So I got the Tailgate Brewing, the peanut butter milk stout. It's dark. That's very good. Yeah. It's not an imperial like some of the others I tried, but it's pretty good. Dark, heavy, pretty strong taste.
I swung by the fancy beer store right before coming over. And
which means it's not cold.
Yeah, it's not really cold. And it is super spicy. It is the Chai 10W40.
Wait, is it called super spicy, or are you telling me like
no,
that's
it's
your description?
Super spicy. It is a spicy
Fitch
beer.
Chai, yeah, it would have to be.
It's a spicy beer.
There used to be Sugar Mamas used to have a I think it was Gypsy Circus who actually made it a chai cider, and I don't like cider, but I like that one.
I'm not a fan of ciders.
I really like chai though, and I think anything chai I could probably drink.
I think most ciders I think are either just way too tart or way too sweet, and there's just like no good in between. I haven't found anything that I like, and at least in that line. So I tend to avoid this. I stick with.
I want to correct that.
What's up?
Dunkin's chai is shit. I don't even like everything else there.
I'm not a fan of anything Dunkin' anyways. Like I used to get their coffee, and then until I realized, like, you know what, it's really shit. Like, why am I doing this to myself?
It's not good.
I'm not
like,
a fan.
Their food's like microwaved.
So before we get into stories, we took a trip this weekend to Nashville to see a friend play. And first I'm going to bitch about. I'm gonna hold my bitch because I want to tell my main story first. It was surprising to see when we get there, we go to a bar to hang out before the venue opens. And first off, this road it caters to the music industry because fucking nothing's open during the day. Like, it's only during the night. Like, every restaurant business was closed, but this bar finally opened around 3 p.m. The doors opened at 6, and when we get there, the first thing we did was show us ID, and now your proof of vaccination card. And that's something that bars around here didn't do, so that was kind of cool. I was surprised to see that, especially in this, like, it wasn't a really uptown area of Nashville either. And the venue did the same thing. Not only did they show your ID, I know you went to a place, Sam. You
The punk
tried
rock
to.
flea market.
Yeah. Punk rock
So that was kind of nice. Now my bitch. The trip there sucked because a normal 2.5 hour drive to Nashville became a 3.5 hour shitstorm because of all the traffic from all the trash throwing UT fans that left Sunday morning. So for those who are unaware, Tennessee and especially Knoxville became a national fucking embarrassment again.
We're always a national embarrassment.
As a friend of mine put
day.
it, Tennessee decided to have a football game and a school board meeting broke out.
I mean, it's fucking embarrassing. So what happened was there were some controversial plays during this game. Anyways, I know you're not a big sports ball guy, Sam, but
I am though. I definitely I love the sports ball.
I know you won't. You won't shut up about it.
Is where they take the ball and they get it from one place to a different place.
So what had happened? So one of the calls was Tennessee had forced a fumble-ish and got a touchdown. They turned that around because they said the play was dead, and that was kind of controversial. So that already got the Tennessee fans kind of already pissy. And then towards the end of the game, there was a fourth down play that Tennessee's like, oh, we got the first down, and the refs were like, fuck, no, you didn't. And so they reviewed the play, and after the review, they confirmed that Tennessee did not get the first down, meaning they turned it over on downs, which means they gives it back to, who are they playing, Ole Miss? So they give it back to Ole Miss, and this pissed fucking everyone off, so much so that they started launching fucking trash into the stand.
Golf balls, mustard.
The field. A full thing of mustard. Yeah, they threw a golf ball at Lane Kiffin, the former coach of Tennessee, who went over, or one of the coaches of Tennessee.
The people they went there to support, the cheerleaders, the band, they had to leave while covering their heads to protect themselves from the shit being thrown out on the field.
It delayed the game for an additional 20 minutes, I think, or maybe even longer, because of all the shit that was thrown on there. Several people were ejected. I think 51 were ejected. There were several arrests made as well.
17 arrests, I think we said, or 18.
I don't have the number pulled up, but there were, and the SEC has fined University of Tennessee $250,000 for the incident.
That means people are going to pay that out of their tuition.
Yeah,
that's what your tuition goes to at UT. UT is a football university and education second.
How? But I don't understand why UT is being held responsible because they're their fans.
It was their fan. It was specifically their fans that were doing it. The students as well. These were students of UT.
How could the university stop it from happening at the time?
By not being a pit of fucking toxicity. Maybe Knoxville's the problem. Maybe the people in Knoxville are just the biggest pieces of shit in the entire world.
I don't think it's a Knoxville specific
no, it
thing.
is.
I think
our team does. This isn't the only time that the Knoxville fans have literally caused riots because they were little babies and they didn't like something.
Done it too, though.
It happens here all the fucking time.
But they're not the only ones. It's football. It's sports fans in general, and football. Like when we talk about the school board meeting, there's an overlap between those people. Now, obviously, not every person who watches football is like that, Dustin.
I think there's an
but there is a large
there's an overlap between tribalism and football. If you are a nationalist or really into groups against other groups, you'll probably be into football too.
What's really
sweet? I love choosing one set of colors go against the other set of colors.
Who can sports harder? Well, this is kind of weird coming from you because I know that you used to work in the hospitality industry, and some of the worst days of your life were when Tennessee lost.
But it's like,
and
I said it didn't surprise me at all because yes, UT fans are assholes, but this is like their home turf.
Right, okay.
Like, this is their area, so they feel
I think that makes
especially
them more
entitled when it's a home game and it's here. But, working in hospitality, I fucking hated football weekends. I never had to keep track of the score because I just had to, wait to see, how the UT fans came back treating me. And anytime they lost, they treat any service person around them like absolute shit. They are assholes. But I think that's probably true for, like, Kentucky. If you're in Kentucky and you work in hospitality or any service industry that has a direct interaction with these people, you probably notice that the Kentucky fans are complete fucking assholes when they're home because it's their turf. They're entitled. At one hotel I was working at, like, we had the fucking complimentary breakfast in the morning, and, like, this big argument starts breaking out, and, like, it's starting to get where it could be physical. So me and a manager go out there to break it up, and the fucking UT fan is berating us for allowing people from the opposing team to stay at our
Jesus
hotel.
Christ.
Like, where the fuck do you think they're going to stay? Like...
And let's not talk about I mean, this shit sold out, by the way. This is over 108,000. I may have my numbers wrong, but it was over 100,000 people at this game. So, you know, COVID super spreader.
Yay.
First and foremost. I mean, this thing was
it was
packed.
Gross. Like, nobody wearing masks.
Oh, of course not.
Like, it's outside, but yeah, there's still, you're packed in. Like, it's not like there's room to social distance there.
Yeah, but if it's their home, to your point earlier, if it's their home turf, their home base, why the fuck are they trashing it, right? Because that's exactly what they did. It was it was an embarrassment.
Because they're entitled to do whatever the fuck they want to do.
It did spawn some pretty good memes, though. They changed there was one where the sun sphere, they superimposed the yellow golf ball over it. Like, that one was pretty funny.
I fucking hate this town. Jesus Christ.
I haven't seen any other than the fucking one about the school board meeting breaking out.
Yeah, that one. That's exactly what it was.
That was my first thought of it. In fact, I had commented on somebody's post. I woke up to, like, all these posts talking about, like, entitlement and stuff like that, and I thought they were talking about anti-maskers, and then, like, I start reading the comments. I'm like, oh, UT fans. I'm like, well, there's an overlap, and then I scroll further down on my page and see the meme, the post my friend made about the school board meeting. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one who sees it. Like, it's the same people. Like, it's sure not all football fans are going to behave like that, but the ones who did, I guarantee you, most of them are anti-maskers and
probably. Well, that's a lot of Tennessee in the first place, or at least this area of Tennessee.
Yeah, so they're just going to these games, acting like assholes, giving each other deadly viruses. It's great. I hope that a good portion of them are dead by next week.
Jesus Christ.
So fucking...
I am over this fucking city.
You know what? You're
Speaking
not wrong.
of, let's talk about local elections.
I was going to do that, but since you did that, so we touched on it briefly last week. But the funniest thing happened this week is that your friend received a text from, I guess, right-leaning group who was like, these groups want to defund the police, and do
you want to be like do you want Knoxville to be like Portland?
Right.
That's the text message they're sending to Republicans in Knoxville.
The best part about this text, though, is that they're just trying to reach out.
Wait, let me read it.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Vote early for tough on crime Republicans Jim Clonaris, Stephanie Murphy, Garrett Holt, Kim Young, and Nick... What's his last name?
Sapporo.
Craparo? I think it's
Shittero.
Craparo.
For citywide elections.
Elizabeth Smurthy.
Don't let the...
Sorry.
Don't let the liberals defund the police and turn Knoxville into Portland. But
the Democrats here are not trying to defund the police. I can tell you that.
No, they're not. Absolutely not.
No one is defunding the police
But
here.
yeah, this was sent out by like it's Enlight Tennessee, which is obviously a conservative organization. These are their candidates. Stephanie Murphy
is not a candidate.
And Kim Young. That's not their fucking names.
That's the best part. It's not their names.
Elizabeth Murphy. I'll say Elizabeth Murphy and Kim Smith are the who they meant to say. But yeah, I wonder how many people they sent that out to and gave the wrong fucking names.
They just go to the ballots and they get their sample ballot and they're like, I don't see the Stephanie
Where's Stephanie Murphy?
These are top tier fucking idiots, but so are everyone else in this fucking city. Everyone in this city, I just have lost all faith. Like what did I say? 80% of people around us are complete fucking shitbags.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I attempted to go vote today because I forgot I was going to do it Saturday. So I attempted to go today, and no one's fucking there. Like,
Yeah,
just
no one was there when
in.
I went either.
And then I couldn't because their shit was down. Like, they tried to look me up, and like every one of their systems just crashed and froze. So I'm like, well, I need to be here Saturday anyways. I remembered I was just on my way and was like, oh, I can just swing in and get this done because no one votes in these fucking elections. They really don't.
Exactly, but you know who does vote? The fucking religious douchebags, because the thing about the right is fascism always wins because they're more organized. Like, fascism is more organized.
It's because they can organize around a single fucking ideology or ideal.
Yeah.
Like, all they have to do is say...
And those ideologies have to connect with people, and the ones that easily connect are the fascist ones because people are pretty stupid, and following a blind fascist leader connects with most people that go to church. So the whole fucking church organization goes and votes, and then bam, doesn't matter how many friends I get to vote, I'm not a church full of 20 fucking racist rednecks.
And also, I also think that the right has more single issue voters than the left does.
That's how they use them. Like, the right doesn't actually care about those single issues. They know which ones that will get those people. That's the right's whole strategy. Like,
freedom,
yeah, freedom, anti-abortion. They find single fucking issues to get these fascist leaning people that are like, oh yeah, fascism sounds cool.
Freedom. It's not fascism, it's freedom.
These are patriots, Sam.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Like, I think I talked last time about SEMA calling me, who's running for city council. But, that's the only call I got.
No, I got multiple calls.
I didn't get a single call, and, like,
let me see.
I drive around all day, and I'm not seeing near as many of, like, the more progressive with air quotes. Like, it's they're not progressive, but they're not. Yes.
I got 3 texts. One from Tommy Smith, one from SEMA, and one from I got 2 from Tommy Smith.
SEMA went out of her way. She called me personally. It was not a phone bank. She actually called me personally. She called quite a few people, which, I mean...
Well, she fucked over
She
the
did,
Democrats
she did,
and
but she's at least working. She's at least trying, and then I drive around, and I'm just not seeing as much from the other candidates other than the 5 we do not want on city council.
I'm seeing those so much.
And I'm worried. I'm really worried about it.
No,
I'm starting to notice the same thing as I'm driving. I'm
starting
to see those same 5.
This whole city's fucking nosediving. Our only hope is COVID killing all these idiots within the next few years.
It's not happening fast enough.
It's not fast enough, but it is on a pretty steady rate.
I think Knoxville, since the pandemic began, is only around the 8.
We've had some shady shit happening too with the commission.
Some gerrymandering going on. Let's talk about that.
I don't know fully what happened. I could probably pull.
But it got the
attention
of the
Jennifer Owen, school board member.
Oh no, not that.
NAACP.
The NAACP got the attention of that because of how it can disenfranchise the black population by redistricting one of the precincts. Mm-hmm. And so I guess they're trying to do that at the precipice of the election.
But they did it so. The vote was supposed to be in November or something like that. They printed out a map for the redistrict hours before this meeting, and then voted to shorten the time before the vote on this. So they're trying to rush it through really quick. And Jennifer Owen, she's one of our school board members. And she wrote this long-ass post. It's explaining all the issues that will come from the school system. Like moving, kids will go to school at one school, but their school board rep will be somebody who's not over that school. And that this redistricting doesn't just do that to 1 or 2 schools. It does it a lot. And then there's the NAACP concern about, and this is what they're trying to do. Right. They have every intention to do this because the East community, which is more the heavily black population, they are making some progress. They've been working hard since 2015, 2016, right around the time of the last election. They've been working hard with the city council movement and to bring more progressive people in there, and it's working. Kind of, and so they're trying to shut that shit down.
Well, they're following the typical Republican playbook, which is the only way we can win is
cheat.
Exactly. I've seen some of the districts were gerrymandered to shit. It looks like I don't even know.
My favorite meme was the one where it's like, "Who's that Pokemon?" They're
yes,
like,
that's what
Onyx, and it's like, no, this is a district in Texas.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It is,
like this one here that goes in and out of each other. Like you can tell that, and they're saying that they're doing it to condense like the zone. But that's not condensing anything.
Well, I was seeing something that was saying that the Republican Party, period, represents maybe at best 20% of the fucking country, but they seem like they are over 50% representation, even more so. Like, they are a loud minority that is very dangerous and, like, pushes everywhere. I mean, they are not a minority in Knoxville in Tennessee because everyone here is a piece of shit. But they cheat to win.
They have to because they don't have the numbers.
Democrats don't fight back with fire.
They're not as dirty. They're not as dirty, and they absolutely should be.
So you should be. If you want to stop your grandpappy from voting, just break his leg.
Jesus Christ, Sam. Theoretically,
ironically, break your grandpappy's leg.
Well,
whatever you can do to make sure they don't vote.
To your point, and to further ensure that they stay in power, the Senate Republicans this week have shot down through the filibuster the Freedom to Vote Act, which, and I remember this from NBC. This is what they don't want: automatic and same-day voter registration and no excuse mail voting. It gives states flexibility in implementing some provisions like early voting and make Election Day a holiday. It also would seek to protect federal election records and insulate nonpartisan state and local election officials from undue interference. What bad thing in there do they not want? Other than saying saying the quiet part out loud is that we know that if more people vote, we
lose. They know that, and they are fighting tooth and nail. And most people are too apathetic to really realize what the fuck is going on.
The problem right now is that we're not fighting dirty enough, and it comes down to primarily one fucking person, but partially two, and that's Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, because all we have to do is get rid of the fucking filibuster to have
They're two Republican spies that got into the Democratic Party.
Because that's all they need to do to pass this shit is to end the filibuster, but they're not fighting dirty enough. Because you know what's going to happen? Typically, and I'm going to predict this right now, as sad as it is, there's going to be a shift in the 2022. After the first term, there's generally not a lot of support for the current administration. So the House and or Senate may flip Republican. And I guarantee you that if fucking Turtle Mitch McConnell becomes the Senate majority leader again, and if it's a slim majority, I guarantee you the first thing they're going to do is kill the filibuster. Even though they're whining about it right now, so they can put through everything they want.
Those liberal death squads that were supposed to get him. Jesus,
but
they've barely been slacking.
Fucking Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema they're not willing to fight dirty, because you're right, they're not Democrats, and they're not Democrats. They're not trying to push the Republican progressive policy.
He's owned by fossil fuel.
Yeah, so let's get into that. So what another thing that pissed me off is two things that happened. The two stories that kind of crossed my desk this week as I'm kind of perusing the news is that Joe Manchin's name, he's the most powerful person in the Senate right now in terms of the Democratic Party, because he's the one that is just not towing the line for the party.
He's a puppet. He has somebody with a hand up his ass, and that hand.
No, it's Sinema and fucking Manchin have huge corporate shill sponsors. They get millions from
these. Are literally the people ending the world. This is the root of evil right here.
And so Biden is trying to push these largely very popular progressive policies, right? And some of that has to do with climate change. Well, Joe Manchin wants no fucking part of that, because a report came out that he has a, I'm going to do air quotes, blind trust with some sort of coal company that pays him at least 3 times more than annually than his congressional salary, and probably millions more after that. He has no interest in trying to roll back, changes for coal or anything that would hurt his pocket.
Coal is so fucking stupid.
But no one's decrying this huge fucking conflict of interest, this ethical breakdown that this man who can vote towards these policies while keeping the blind trust that's paying him, and he wants to keep that money so he can vote down this legislation like, a carbon tax. He's wanting to kill a carbon tax that they're trying to introduce. Things that would, maybe extend the life of this planet a little bit more, but hey, money's more important to him than fucking future generations of people.
Evil wins. Evil always wins. I don't think there's any hope for any of that. We're past the tipping point. So maybe they're just trying to make their money before the shit goes down. Like, they don't want to lessen the damage that's going to happen. The ecosystems are collapsing as we speak. So maybe they're just trying to make the best money so they can live their best life in their bunkers in the apocalypse.
Another thing he's doing is, rather than kind of negotiating for this infrastructure bill that was supposed to be like upwards of $3.5 trillion, things that this country really needs, and every time he gets brought up, he lowers the fucking price tag. It's now lowered to around $1.5 trillion. So some of the things that this is, and it's called the Build Back Better agenda, and it was a sweeping social investments to lift the American working class by expanding Medicare, curbing childhood poverty, increasing affordable housing, spending big on climate, offering paid family leave, and initiating universal pre-K and childcare. These are all widely popular things in the United States, but because of the corporate shilling and his interest in the fossil fuels, he's fucking not playing ball. And he's a downright Republican, and he's not up for re-election until 2024.
Jeez, he just got fucking in there. Like,
Yeah.
How?
So anyways, where's his address?
But it's not just him; it's fucking cinnamon in the pocket too. And I can guarantee you that in 2022, because Republicans do fight dirty because they know they have to stay in power, I can guarantee you that if fucking Mitch McConnell becomes a majority leader again, I guarantee you the filibuster is axed. Even though he's decrying it now, even though he's saying it would be an end to democracy, I can guarantee that's the first fucking thing he and his cronies do.
Anyways, what's his address?
Right? But I don't know. He's single-handedly killing every progressive policy that Biden has introduced.
Man, I can't imagine if fucking Trump was still in right now, how fuck we would be if Trump was actually in on top of all this other shit.
And it's scary, how close they actually were to, subverting democracy and overturning it.
They gave us another 4 years of having to arm ourselves and march in the streets and have shootouts in your local neighborhood with our Antifa
No, they
forces.
actually had a
legal
legal process.
Well, wait.
If Mike Pence had actually done what Trump wanted, they actually had a legal process to subvert democracy and actually overturn the election.
Yeah, is that our other story of all of that's coming out? It's all stuff we already knew, but it's just being verified more and more.
Yeah, so the January 6th committee, is starting to finally do things. I know I mentioned it last week, but the vote came through today, so they did vote on Tuesday to bring it to committee, and the committee did vote today to hold Steve Bannon in criminal contempt, and they will be forwarding, because of course his refusal to comply with the subpoena because Trump tells him to.
If he's not being publicly executed for treason, then they're not going far enough, because that's literally what he did.
Well, no, the worst thing they can fucking do that's if, because it's being handed to the Department of Justice, so it's up to Merrick Garland to press charges, and that's an if. He doesn't have to, if he thinks that executive privilege exists in this situation. But at worst, it's 1 year in prison and $100,000 fine.
Yeah, none of that's
That's
gonna happen.
not nearly enough.
That's why it's what's his address?
Yeah. Just start doxing all the people that fucking have tried to subvert democracy.
Justice doesn't exist, people.
It really doesn't.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court and how we've completely lost any faith in them. What's their address?
Everyone's address, Sam.
Everybody's address.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about it last time, especially, and we're going to see some of those effects because the Department of Justice has asked them to intervene yet again in the Texas abortion case. I know they declined it earlier on it was a kind of a shadow docket decision, but they've lost control of the Supreme Court. John Roberts lost it. It's an ideological right wing that no longer rules on the rule of law, but in politics and right-wing ideals, and it's going to cause, I don't know, undue burden for decades because these are young people on that court on the right.
I mean, like I was saying earlier, like Republicans they're a much smaller minority in this country than it seems like. They have so much control of this country, but they are such a small minority, and you beat that by fucking stomping it out. Like, people need to fucking do something about it.
But
the power is there.
I don't have faith in Garland.
I don't have faith in anything. Like, I think I'm going to see the literal apocalypse in my lifetime. Like, what do you have faith in anymore?
Looking at a headline where it's like, Garland can't imagine labeling protesting parents domestic terrorists. Nobody's talking about doing that. Nobody's talking about, calling parents who go out for a protest in, like, downtown or something like that domestic terrorists. They're calling the ones that are sending death threats to school board members domestic terrorists because that's what they fucking are.
Right. And, well, it's not just them, too. There's so many domestic terrorists. It's so weird how this pandemic has spawned these people who are so willing to fight, aka the system, because they think their freedoms are being eroded to fucking protect those around them. And that's the saddest thing. They're literally threatening hospitals and healthcare workers,
doctors. We saw here in Tennessee the doctor who spoke at a school board meeting in favor of masks. Like, people threatening it. Like, we know where you live. Like, that's fucking terrorism. It's fucking terrorism.
Yeah, I think we've seen like a rise of that, mainly due to the pandemic recently, but more so since Trump got elected. We've seen more white nationalists rise up. We've seen them show up at rallies.
This is kind of off topic, but speaking of like white nationalists,
yeah,
I go home today and so I live in an apartment. There's like a field across from the parking lot that people hang out with from time to time. Have some picnic tables. So they have a tent set up and some people hanging out down there. Dude, they're all wearing fucking white. Kids running around in all white. Like what the
pants
fuck
and shirts?
Kind of cold. The men who were wearing pants were wearing khakis and white shirts. The girls were all in white dresses, skirts.
This wasn't a church thing?
Cult thing? I don't know, but the kid and I were both really disturbed by it. The kid's like, willing to bet they're racist.
Well, it's Tennessee. That's not a hard call. That's really not a hard call to make.
It made me feel really fucking uncomfortable. Like, what the fuck's... Who the fuck... Like, it's been raining today. The grass is wet. There's, like, fucking all this. And you're putting your fucking kids, young kids, too, in all white and having them run around. Who does that?
Mormons.
This has to be some cult shit.
Mormons.
Nobody does that.
It's the Mormons, and they have their celestial garments on underneath that. All white. How many were there?
At the time, only, like, 5.
It's not large enough to be a cult.
More were coming. They were set up for more to come. I just didn't see them. They
Yeah, even our cult has bigger numbers than that.
Right, we do. But yeah, I didn't see the full gathering. I left before that. Gotta think of what kind of cult members live in my building now. Next, we're going to go to Oklahoma.
Fuck Oklahoma.
Yeah, really.
You know what?
Fuck
Before we talk about this shitty story, I've been to Oklahoma 3 times, and it's a fucking boring
What's
place.
there?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're an idiot. Sam, with the dad joke. Oh, I don't hate you for that.
I would expect that from Dustin, not you, really.
I don't hate you for that at all. Oh, that's good. So, yeah, there's fucking nothing out there. There was a few bison, a few other animals, a hill, and an Army base. Outside of that,
I don't know.
There's some casinos.
I've been to Ohio, so
and
Kansas.
The mid section of the state, for the most part, is like absolute shit.
Isn't it the most boring place to drive through too? Because there's
No,
nothing.
that's
Yeah.
Ohio.
No, listen. Ohio, Indiana is just as bad. It's just flat as fuck, and
Yeah.
there's like nothing there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've driven through Kansas, and Ohio's worse.
But Oklahoma's a piece of shit, and this is one of the worst stories I've seen in a while in terms of like what transgressed. Like I can't imagine this happening anywhere else. And I actually hope this somehow gets overturned. But go ahead.
I can imagine this happening other states.
So what happened?
Absolutely. So, at 17 weeks, a woman has a miscarriage, and she has been found guilty of first-degree manslaughter.
First-degree manslaughter for having a miscarriage at 17 weeks. So
Yeah.
obviously not viable.
She's 21. She's 21 years old. So they're trying to blame it on drugs for the reason why she had the miscarriage. But Dustin pointed out to me earlier that during testimony, a doctor or a medical examiner
An OBGYN that testified for the state.
saying that that couldn't be determined. You can't say that it's because of drugs. And the fetus had another issue.
Correct. There was another issue. But what gets me wrong? What gets me the most is I'm blaming not only those who decided to charge her, because at 17 weeks, I mean, you know how many miscarriages that happen, and they're just blaming it because they can. But so I'm blaming those who charged them, but I'm also blaming the jury, because as soon as an OBGYN introduces reasonable doubt as to why this miscarriage occurred, which is saying that the substances may not have directly caused the death for the fetus, that's enough reasonable doubt. You can't, charge someone for that. But but it doesn't matter. This is a 17-week-old fetus. This is now. I don't imagine a world do we want to live in this world where people can be charged?
It's about punishing women.
But it's also like this fetus that has now more rights, or had more rights than that woman.
It's a good excuse to punish a woman.
I mean, this woman could have had an abortion at 17 weeks and that had been legal. So I don't really see... I mean, maybe not in Oklahoma, because with their back-ass
in
fucking
Oklahoma,
laws.
they want to bring us back to where women are property and their only means of existence is to bring about babies.
Well, it's not just Oklahoma.
Specifically,
it's all
male baby. They're right.
They're right, because
Like
Texas
that,
is a piece of
that's
shit.
their thought. Like you're skipping a step. Like you're like, I am so outraged over the fact that they would like no, they know that. Like they are such pieces of shit. Their general way of thinking is so like misogynistic that they are all the way over here of like, how dare this woman not create more men? They don't like the modern world we live in. These people, they don't like the modern world we live in, where women have like rights to like their own bodies. That's fucking silly.
Right.
Like, how dare she? Like,
Well, what's worse is, though, that this is an NAPW. It's a nonprofit advocacy organization. They issued a statement that says that Oklahoma, I can't even say it, Oklahoma's murder and manslaughter laws do not apply to miscarriages, which are pregnancy losses that occur before 20 weeks, a point in pregnancy before a fetus is viable. So I don't understand how they're even able to charge this woman, but this is the kind of dystopian fucking future we're headed towards when states like Texas and Oklahoma creating these kind of laws that are making, women unable to control their own bodies and giving more rights to fetuses, but to charge someone with a crime,
I mean, it's more
for
like the
taking
past.
a drug that caused that may or may not is undetermined.
It says, under the law, a mother cannot be prosecuted for causing the death of their unborn child unless the mother committed a crime that caused its death.
And that's what the
But I guess-
drugs were.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying. It was it reported she was accused of causing her child to be stillborn on January 4th, 2020, due to her intravenous meth use. And the medical examiner's report did list the unborn child's cause of death as intrauterine fetal
Let's be
demise due
honest.
to maternal meth use.
Let's be honest.
So that's, I mean,
if this fucking meth head lady even gave birth to this fucking child, that child is not going to be okay.
It's going to be suffering.
That child is going to have to be taken care of by the state. These motherfuckers don't give a shit about that child. They don't give a shit about this child, which would 100% been handicapped. Injecting meth? Jesus fucking Christ. Do you know how fucking hardcore that is? Like, yes, that fucked up her fucking body. That kid, if that kid had been born, he would have been wrecked. He would have not had any chance of a normal life. But they don't give a shit about that.
No, but unfortunately, like, I think this is just the precipice of where, because once like this becomes a precedent, you know, this is allowed to stand. I think we're gonna start seeing shit like this, you know, even more, especially in these red states.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing the Muslims want, and
I don't see a difference.
States.
It's like that meme, you know. Just what's the difference in these two pictures? It's the same picture between the fucking.
And you're saying it's going to be a dystopia. Like, you're just like describing the way things were before like the 1900s.
Yeah, but I had hoped that maybe we were progressing to a better world, Sam.
No, man. No. Are you silly? Like,
we won't as long as religion exists.
Well, that's true.
As long as humans exist, brains are going to be predisposed to believe in silly shit.
It's not, but religion is a driving factor because religion does give more power to men and to control women, and that's probably one of the driving factors as to why those people vote that way, introduce laws that way.
It's more than that. Religion allows people to justify, especially like when we look at the Abrahamic religions.
It's always been a tool for misogynistic power. That's the main purpose of religion.
But it allows people to justify their bigotry towards with racism and everything else. Like it's toxic.
Every religious piece of shit that I know that is a white man, that is why they like it. They're like, oh, it says that my wife has to listen to me. Sweet. Like, religion has always been a tool to.
I don't see any policy that has not more importantly white men. I haven't seen.
Well, that's
any
not
policy.
true. It was invented by brown people, but
but yes,
but in
the U.S., I'm saying
in Western culture, yes. But that's just because the Western culture decided to invent gunpowder quicker than everyone else.
Yeah.
If you've ever played Civilization and you like come across a civilization that you're like, damn, why'd you put all your points into book learning? I put all mine into guns. Bye.
But I think you know you're got a very good point there, and that's why the Bible Belt states and even the southern states like Texas. That's why they are able to pass these bullshit laws because, you know, they're driven by the religious, the evangelical that are pushing the single issue voters, and no one's fucking fighting back, even though that women are 50% of this country. They're not fighting back because even there's a percentage of those who sign on to those beliefs.
Well, the religion has been, you know, around for a long time, so they've kind of perfected how to brainwash people. So they easily know how to brainwash women into being on their side. I mean, I don't know. I go a step further than a lot of things that, like, you know, a lot of things try to say, like, oh, like, don't harass a Muslim woman wearing a head thing. But, like, that's still a form of oppression.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a form of oppression that they've internalized to such a fact that they're like, respect their religious ideals. It's like, that's still a form of repression. Like, a lot of religion is a form of repression. It's a form of control. And like I said, like, I have a hard time even seeing these fucking people as, like, autonomous people. Like, they are just given marching orders, and they live their whole lives to fulfill they spend their whole lives helping someone else have more power.
The worst part is they don't really even understand the religion that they're supporting. They're just echoing, because
it's a base. It's like, yeah, it's mind control.
Right? They're echoing what they're being told.
It's a very lower like form of thinking where it's just all manipulating their instincts, manipulating that fucking reptile brain, and they don't have like a higher level of thinking on any of these subjects.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there at least a poll or some sort of survey out there that showed, you know, Bible literacy and which groups had the highest Bible literacy?
Atheists.
And atheists had the highest.
It's another funny thing is a lot of Catholics nowadays turn, like, a lot of people that go to Catholic school and a lot of people, they end up being atheists, but that's because they make them read the Bible.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen quotes like the quickest path to atheism is to read the Bible from, well, if you can stomach it, because it's fucking tough to read. It's the most boring
I've
piece
read
of
some
fucking...
tough books, and the Bible's a pretty hard one. Those begats, man.
Those begats,
Yeah,
man.
that's the worst fucking part.
But
I've read a good bit of it.
But, I mean, that's kind of why we don't believe this bullshit, because when you read and understand it, and not just echo what's being told to you, or someone trying to tell you what this passage is saying, you're able to analyze it yourself. And these people aren't doing that, and they happily accept what's being told to them. And that's why you see every fucking comment, and the media does a good job of just ramping up comments, because more comments equal more more ads, more clicks, things like that. And every time just the word abortion, these even women and men, they come out in droves, and it's all religious based. And I don't find me one fucking scripture in there that talks about there's one for aborting.
Yes,
there's one for aborting, but not one for against.
Yeah, like I said, I don't respect these people. I can't respect them anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I am way past respecting them. I've said on this episode that I hope they get COVID and die. I am way past this. Like, the years of Trump, I am way past, like, trying to mediate with these people.
We're not over the age of Trumpism, though. These people are clinging on to those ideals because they think that,
and that's fascism.
Fascism has been given voice, has been given strength, and
religion
now
is
think it's okay.
Religion is toddler, or am I thinking no? Training wheels for fascism, anyways. Like, God can do whatever he wants because he has power, and that's the main.
He's a narcissist.
That's
too.
the main thesis of fascism: is if you have the power to do something, you deserve to do it. That's that. I even say that capitalism is fascism. I don't see a difference between capitalism and fascism.
Well, it's not, because they both exploit certain people.
Capitalism says that someone has the power to exploit people because they can do that. Like, you talk to a libertarian and they're like, well, someone would go and just buy something else because the free market, like, it doesn't work like that either. Like, the way that if you talk to a libertarian or a capitalist...
I don't talk to libertarians, Sam.
You know what, though? Like,
every now and then.
They're not completely wrong if businesses were left local. But when you have Walmarts and all these national, international corporations out there, we cannot function like this. I was thinking the other day, though, like, if everything was local and we truly got to pick where we shop, we had local, like, neighborhood markets, like, it probably wouldn't be quite as bad. Do you think about the fact that Walmart is, like, I saw something the other day that's like something 50% of their employees are on food stamps.
I saw that's actually included, that paperwork, the applications are included in their new hire.
And guess where they spend most of their money?
Yeah.
At Walmart.
Right.
That's where where they get their groceries, their clothes.
Our taxpayers are subsidizing.
We are.
Walmart employees.
Absolutely. We're allowing them to exploit. Then tax dollars go to helping take care of these people. If we just fucking make all these fucking corporations pay a living wage. And I saw somebody the other day that, like, it was a fucking TikTok, and it's something I hadn't even thought about. Somebody had commented about not being able to afford, like, not being able to create a profit if he paid his employees $15 an hour or more. And the guy was responding saying, then your business is not profitable. Yeah. If you cannot make a profit by paying your employees a living wage, your business is just not profitable, period. If you have to exploit people in order to make a profit, your profit is off of that exploitation, not your business.
Well, and there's another problem that I have with these what you call too big to fail corporations, is that they have the capital to move into an area and operate at a loss for a long time until they kill off the area businesses. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then now where those people have to work, where those people have to shop. and so they have that capital. These places, I agree, they're too big. They're too big to fail. And what now Walmart's also doing, places like Walmart, some other places are falling in line. I'm not sure if Food City's doing it as much, or Kroger, but they're killing, and you're going to start seeing it more here in Knoxville in the coming years, where they're going to be remodeled, and the majority of those lines are going to be all self-checkouts, and they're reducing their workforce and moving towards, grocery pickup, grocery delivery.
But that's not killing their workforce.
Yeah,
because you still need people like that. Killing the workforce argument is complete fucking bullshit.
I know a lot of people who work in that industry, and none of them say that.
It rearranges the workforce. It never kills off
I
the
misspoke.
workforce.
I meant like it removes the cashiers. They move them to the grocery. They're moving them to the grocery. But I'm saying your experience. I misspoke because I work in these places. I know those people they're taking off the line, and now they're working over here. I misspoke, but it's going to change our experiences. Shoppers who are or people who are forced to shop at those locations.
I've always done self-checkout.
I mean, I approve. I mean, first off, I like self-checkout, but,
I get a chance to talk to somebody.
I'm with you, but I'm just saying that's going to be the new model. And also now with they're expanding their grocery, their pickup thing. That's going to be the new model. I think Knoxville's going to be a hub, a delivery hub. The Clinton Highway location is going to be remodeled in a few years. And it's going to be quite a changing experience. But they have the capital to do that. They have the capital because they're not paying their employees well enough. And another tactic they have is when an employee has tenure and starts to making more, all they have to do is start reducing their hours until they're forced to work somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to fire them. They don't have to do anything. They reduce their
Walmart
hours. Yeah.
Often, it's pretty known for not offering many full-time positions because, they cut off at a certain time because they don't want to pay benefits. If you keep your employees at part-time, you don't have to give them any benefits.
Correct.
Tennessee's
and so
also one of the worst states.
They strive for that. Yeah,
right to work state. Which is one of those, if there's ever an Orwellian term, it's right to work. Because it means the opposite.
It does mean the opposite.
Yeah, and what I don't get is, what if in this state we build big enough workers' union to say, fuck you, and we all went on strike?
That's another thing that we should talk about. There is a huge strike that's happening right now in multiple industries.
Yeah, there's a mass exodus of resignations across this country in all the industries. It's not just retail. Primarily, I want to say retail.
No, it's factory work.
A lot of factory work.
No, there's a lot of stuff.
Okay,
entertainment, because I know
it's entertainment.
Which
somebody was saying cancel your Netflix and all these other things.
I'm not gonna do that, but
yeah, I'm I don't pay for cable. That's my only thing at home. What am I supposed to fucking do?
You want me to
start they're
everything?
quitting in droves because because there's such a labor shortage. They can easily find something that will pay them a living wage, because these companies I wish I could name mine. We're not doing enough, and that's why our people are leaving and easily going somewhere else, and we're not getting anyone new. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the power to change that. Our company is going to suffer as a result of that.
Yep.
Our company's not the only one. I see the same model everywhere else, and I'm saying, and until these other companies realize that this pandemic has changed the way that these people need to be, the wages that need to be paid to its workers to keep them satisfied. And if they're not willing to make that adjustment and pay them a living wage, they're going to go somewhere else. And because of the labor shortage, those positions are available.
Well, and really, when you talk about things being more designed for delivery and things like that, I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to work with the public in a service position again until you're paying me probably closer to $18 an hour. Which is
where minimum wage should be.
Fucking just driving around, delivering shit to people, I make $20 an hour on average. Why the fuck would I stop I don't, you know what? I honestly would prefer at this point to go in and have regular set schedule be done at a certain time, but when I look at the money and when everybody's nobody wants to work. No, so many people are going towards delivery and stuff like that because it's more money. That's after everything shut down for COVID, people had to make money, so they started doing the delivery stuff and realizing, I can make more money with this. I don't have to deal with people cussing me out because they don't like how the business that I have nothing fucking to do with other than selling them shit is run. I don't have to work with managers chewing my ass out because I make a minor mistake, which is a lot of the restaurant industry. Like, these people are probably still in the workforce. They're just not dealing with the bullshit anymore and making more money. And now you can't get them back into those positions. And I'm one of those people. Like, I was working, I actually was making fairly decent at a hotel. After COVID, I left. And now I didn't go back.
Because why would you?
If I'm making more, I'm working the same amount of hours at like this one job and making more money when before I was working the 40 hours that I'm working now plus door dashing on the side to make ends meet. Well, now I can just work the 40 hours.
And I kind of want to pick on Sam's point where he said that $18 it should be the minimum wage now.
It's gone up again, yeah.
Yeah,
because
it's not 15. It's probably 20, really.
Because if you look at the rising of housing costs, rental, fuel, every fucking other thing that we had, the Americans that have to spend their money on, healthcare is another one that fucks people over primarily.
Only in this country for some reason.
Because it's so infuriating when I'm looking at like people. I'm on Reddit, and then there's someone post their fucking medical bill, and people in Sweden are confused as fuck as why we're paying, $3,000.
But it's all connected. Like, people act like that's an accident. That's one of my main goals as a leftist, is try to get people to understand that the reason we don't have health care is connected to why our wages are so low.
It's all connected.
Because when you're worried about fucking dying and paying off your debt for your school degree that you couldn't fucking get a job from,
you're not going to quit your job.
You have to accept any fucking position to live. Therefore, the capitalists win again.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
murder your boss, ironically.
Ironically.
But I was looking at several. There's a good subreddit called Data is Beautiful, and it was showing the various costs of goods and services that Americans need to pay for on a monthly basis, and how much that's risen compared to I want to say lack of minimum wage, because it hasn't increased since 2009 or whatever. It was like $7.25 is technically still the federal minimum wage, which no one in this country can survive on. That's why millennials are fucking and even Gen Zers. They're either not leaving home until much later, or they're not single or dual households. They have to have roommates just to fucking survive.
Polyamory for the win.
Yeah, they have to have several roommates.
Middle class is
That's probably why polyamory is as big as it is now. Is because everybody realized you can't do it on just two people. You need 5 adults in the household.
Looking for a third to pay rent.
But isn't that? I mean, that's like a gross. That's not a gross concept, but it's a gross concept that they can't. Literally, a single individual simply cannot, on even $12 an hour. Let's just call it that. They cannot live. They can't afford rent plus everything else they need to in this country. And
the
it's only getting worse
capitalists want a slave workforce where, like, capitalist culture, we've been taught for years, like, get my grind. Like, that's like capitalist brainwashing. Like, oh yeah, well, you know what? I worked a double. I don't have a life. All I do is work. I'm dying for my boss. Ha ha, grind. I have money to barely pay off my bills. Ha ha. But
the sad part of that, I mean, that's funny, but the sad part of that is that Al shared an either email or a text. It was a snapshot of a letter sent out to tenants. And there was a massive, because it's legal in some states where they don't have to give so much notice, and there's no cap to what they can raise the rent to. Mm-hmm. And do you remember what those amounts were? Like, it was a crippling amount, a crippling increase from what their rent was to what it was going to. Do you remember that amount?
I don't remember that particular one, but I can tell you my own experience with that.
Let's go.
Where
this one I know, it was outrageous. It was going from like $900 to $1,300, I want to say.
Which,
for someone who is living paycheck to paycheck, because that's a majority of
probably a
Americans.
Similar increase to what I have. Well, it's a little bit higher, but so I moved into an apartment and I'm paying $640, I believe, when I moved in there. This was 4 years ago. The very fucking next year, when my rent's due, I get a notice letting me know that my rent is going up to $880 a month.
It's a 240
No, it was
increase.
$840, and it's gone up every year. So
it's the same. Like,
but it's a 33% increase on my rent in a 1 year's time.
And that's happening nationwide, and yet
nothing's
done.
That happens with everything around it. Like other countries, Germany, I think I saw another country did this too. Another European country. The government has actually stepped in and are fixing their housing crisis by being like, no, you have to sell these to actual fucking people. Like what's happening in Tennessee right now, of a bunch of California fucking billionaires, millionaires coming over, buying a bunch of property. Like Germany and other countries in Europe are just stopping that, and they're making sure that the only people who own the actual properties have to actually live there.
It's because people,
but that will never happen here because we are a capitalist hellscape.
It can't keep going. It can't.
I mean,
there's not going to be
apocalypse is going to happen in a few
there's
years.
just not going to be anybody to live in those houses.
What's going to happen
they
when
can keep
change
raising
kills
the
all these
rent.
people?
They're going to increase the homeless population. Once people become homeless, it's nearly impossible for them to get a job.
And then
there's
they
your
just want you to
workforce.
die.
But I mean, it's you can't. They can't keep going like
we're
this.
on the verge of a precipice, I think, because we're not following. And I had this argument with my former boss, he's a Republican, far right guy, and he's one of those, you don't think America's the greatest country? I was like, fuck no, dude, fuck no. Do you know who's been ranked the fucking highest in terms of like the happiest fucking country in the last like 4 years in running? And it's probably like Denmark or Sweden. It's probably Denmark or it's one of those.
One of those countries
Denmark,
you never fucking hear about.
It's Denmark,
because
Norway,
they
Sweden,
don't have as many issues.
But it's one of them. It's because they have universal healthcare. They have living wages. They
probably have low crime rates.
They do, and like it's infuriating that these people say it doesn't work. That socialized healthcare doesn't work, and it's like it really does work. Get your head out of your ass and look at these other fucking countries that have shown that these people live fucking very well. They're happy. They walk in. And they walk out of the hospital with fucking nothing or $5. Someone who was traveled and they got sick and they didn't think they had the money to pay. They're like, yeah, that's $10. Are you fucking kidding me? You break your leg here, you're out fucking what, 2,000 or 3,000 or probably even more.
My dad still gets frustrated with me when he tells me we're the freest country. I was
go fuck yourself.
I'm like, why do we have the highest incarceration rate?
Yeah.
We have the highest number of people who are not free. So explain that to me.
We're not the number one in any category except fucking federal spending on fucking on incarceration and how much we spend on our fucking military. That's the only thing we are probably number one in, and probably I don't know, abortions too. I don't know.
We probably the funding for our military is probably higher than a lot of other countries.
Oh no, it's way higher. It's way higher.
Yeah.
We spend $700 billion. I use this stat all the time.
Or did I say military or police?
You said military.
Oh, police. I mean, our funding on police.
Oh, probably. But one of my favorite stats, the unfavorite stats, is that we spend so much on our military compared to other countries that we have, I say on average, 11 or 12 active aircraft carriers that are capable of launching hundreds of of aircraft. We have the largest Air Force. Two our largest air forces, the Air Force and the Navy, more than any other country. But we have 12 of those active aircraft carriers. The next largest country is 2. Like, we spend so much, and we refuse to diverge that fucking budget to healthcare, housing, things that take care of our own country because mark on number one, fucking Republicans and their agenda, and because gerrymandering and the like that we talked about before are able to keep that shit in power. And capitalism drives all of that as well, and we will never be as happy as those countries because and our people are going to continue to suffer. As you talked about, the homeless rate is about to fucking increase.
The drug use will continue to increase. The homeless rate will continue to increase. Nothing. This isn't good. This doesn't help them in the long run. It's not. They're not going to have anybody to fucking work. Like, we cannot keep going the direction we are going to go. Nobody fucking wins. And it's in, like, everybody's best interest to just fucking start paying people.
The worst
that
part is
money they're hoarding it dies with them. It goes to their kids that can't spend it all. They cannot spend all this fucking money.
Care.
Just hand it the fuck over and let other people fucking enjoy life.
Sam's right. They don't care. In fact,
they
not only do they not care, they've also.
Why do you think we're talking about guillotines? Because they don't give a shit.
I know. We need to bring them out. Let's roll them out, please.
They've also convinced, though, at least a majority of Americans that who the enemy is, and it's the people they're blaming the poor.
No, it's the commies, the poors.
Right. So
anybody poor is a commie.
They're blaming the poor people for the country's problem. They've turned.
I mean,
they brainwashed these people. It's like you want someone flipping a burger to be paid $15 an hour? Fuck yes, they need or more. Like that's the argument you see. They've brainwashed these people into accepting
but the problem is these people are so stupid to be like, yes, pay them $15 for that and pay me more. They're so stupid they can't 1 and 1 equals 2. They can't get there. Humans are fucking stupid as fuck. Like, we deserve whatever reckoning's coming in the climate crisis.
I know you've all seen the tweet where this guy was whining as an Amazon employee who's saying, I was forced to work during the pandemic, only being paid this, while other people who stayed home were paid $600 plus their and like. You realize you work for the richest person in the planet on one of the largest companies in the world, and you're bitching. The problem is you should be being paid more, not whining about someone who's trying to, stay alive during a pandemic.
You're not
and
pissed
their
off
homes.
at somebody else like taking advantage of something that is.
Because capitalism has done a great job of convincing them.
That's
who
what
the enemy is.
That's what I've been saying. That I can't think of these people as actual people. Like, I can talk to people. Like, these are like they're brainwashed fucking puppets. Their entire purpose in life is to help the fascist force that their values believe in. Like, they don't have actual thoughts. Like, real people have thoughts. Those aren't thoughts. That's a Fox News blurb they're telling you.
Newsmax now.
Newsmax, whatever. The point is that the problem is I'm at the point where I think humans are fucking garbage. I think there's enough evidence for that to go around.
I mean, I watch the worst of them all the time. I read all of their fucking posts. So yeah, I mean,
that's the majority of human beings. Like, they do
I
not
don't
have
think
higher
they're
brain
the
processes.
Majority. I think the majority are just fucking stuck in a rut, and they go along with whatever is thrown in front of them. I don't think it's
lower brain processes that's easy to manipulate by fascist forces, which is essential to humanity.
Because most people want to be led. This has been proven. There are not as many leaders as there are followers.
Sure, I'm okay
most
with being
people
led as long as I
followers.
pick the leader that actually goes with what I value.
But
I don't want to be a leader.
They're comfortable, so they're not experiencing the problem, so they don't understand. So they're just following the status quo.
But a lot of them are poor, fucking dying of cancer or something.
That's true.
Like, they do experience it, but they are also white and a lot of them male, and they do like the privilege that comes with that, and they are never going to fight that otherwise.
But there's no privilege if you're fucking poor too.
They don't understand it.
They don't care about that.
They're nothing
I mean,
but
you have
fucking
privilege
tools.
on, like, I mean,
they're nothing
not
but
getting
tools.
shot by a cop, but you're still suffering from, like, it's still the system of racism ultimately that is causing you to suffer too.
But the fascism of the right teaches them to put their hate towards something else, and that's why they never focus on the capitalists that are bringing them down.
Yes.
Everything else is the enemy, and they're very fucking good at that. And now I have to change fucking phone providers because it turns out that AT&T has been paying for OANN while also paying for CNN, and kind of like
I play both sides, so
they're
I
playing
always win.
both fucking sides. Is what AT&T has found them doing. They propped up. I think it's OANN. It's not Newsmax. It's OANN, One American News Network. So they're playing both fucking sides and profiting from both. And it's this pure capitalism drive of, telling certain people who the enemy is.
To both, or
no, AT&T's the parent company.
Both.
Yeah, AT&T pays. AT&T is the parent company for CNN and the parent company for the company that owns or is for OANN. As a report that came out.
They're like Republican, Democrat, capitalism. Like, they don't care.
No,
as long as capitalism wins, there's no socialist. The socialism Look, socialism, let's be honest, fellow socialists.
Tell us, Sam.
The world's going to fucking end before socialism comes out.
Yeah,
Every time I fucking see...
You mean in the U.S., because there's other countries that have embraced it, like we just talked about.
Embraced it to a form. They still have enough capitalism running their country.
But those people are fucking happy because they're being paid
people
for.
are doing a lot better, but the countries are so much smaller than America.
That's true. That's true.
Like, sure. Like, maybe if...
Like, capitalism, I think you're
we're
right, will
too
be the
large
reigning...
anyway.
I think capitalism will be the reigning...
broken up into smaller
humans
countries.
never were supposed to be bigger than about 20 people living into a cave together. We were never supposed to be a giant fucking force that ruled the fucking planet.
And that's why we're killing our planet,
right.
too. So we don't have to worry about... And it won't probably be long because, I mean, I saw... Jesus Christ, you guys. I saw a ship yesterday. And the sole purpose of this ship was to clean up some of the garbage. And just one fucking net cast into this ocean produced several hundred tons of plastic and garbage and trash. And we're literally destroying this planet, and we don't give a fuck about it.
I'm disgusted by how many 40 packs of Walmart like water bottles that I deliver. Like, there's times that I go to somebody's house and I'm dropping off 4 of these 40 packs of water. Buy a goddamn water filter. Why are you going through this many fucking water bottles? Like, there's an easier way to do this that produces less trash. And even though, like, individuals aren't, like, the bulk of what's destroying the planet, that's a little fucking ridiculous, and you should do better.
Because Americans, by and large, will choose convenience over protecting the planet because they don't give a fuck. It's what benefits them now, what makes their life easier now.
That's
not
what happens when you have a species that lives under 100 years that doesn't give a shit about future generations.
Valid.
Like, that's what's happened.
But out of every other animal on this planet, we have the cognitive ability to know that we will have future generations.
As an individual, we do, but as a species, we don't. That's what I've been saying. The majority of humans live off of greed, and the majority of the ones that are leading the race are running off of instinctual greed. The 1% are 100%, they're not smart. They're leading off of the greed resources in their brain. They're living 100% off of the dopamine, more. That's not smart. They're leading off of the animal instinct of greed in their brain. And then the other percent of people that they are using to continue to do that are stupid as fuck. Men in Black said it. An individual is smart. People are
dumb.
not.
So
as a race, we are a greedy
species,
and we are a species whose stupidity fuels the greed for the 1%.
Yeah,
and that's as a species.
And we're never gonna break that, unfortunately. But I think what Al said before is 100% right. Is that capitalism has brought the U.S. to a precipice where we're going to see a catalyst, a catalyst that will bring down this massive, wave of homelessness. That's going to increase the drug use. It's going to probably increase violence.
We've already seen that.
We're going to see some.
We
it's
see
happening
when
right now.
poverty,
It's
like
not
COVID increased the poverty rate, and we saw an increase in violence.
But it's going to get worse because as it gets, it's going to get worse because as shelves start to deplete because of the labor shortage and people continue to leave their jobs and find other things. We're already seeing items being depleted, stock not being that fulfilled. As that problem gets worse, that's we saw what happens when there was they killed all the toilet paper and all the paper products. But when that starts happening to food and everything like that, that's when violence breaks.
Food prices are already going up.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen because
I
don't see a path of this getting any better right now.
We just need more and more people in the streets, like, fighting the fucking fascism and.
But we can't. How do you fight capitalism when because how do you fight capitalism?
Well, just solidarity through the apocalypse. That's what we're going to do.
That's what I was saying. Actually,
every time that I play post-apocalyptic media, I'm always just like, man, these people don't have to worry about the climate crisis anymore. Nature's thriving. I mean, they got to worry about those zombies, but nature's thriving. And those little communities they have, they're socialist. So we got that to look forward to. Socialism will win in the end
So-
when we are forced to live in small groups again.
Yeah.
The answer is actually solidarity is how we get through this. When, like, Nabisco, I think they're off of their strike now, but when they were on their strike, people should have stopped buying their stuff. That's, I mean, we can do this in small segments if everybody, like, participates in solidarity when it happens. We can't just let these people, like the small group of people, go on strike and still buy up all this shit because that leads other people to go get jobs there, and you know. But if we show solidarity when all of this happens, we're hitting the bank accounts in all directions, and we can slowly, one by one, improve the workforce with each of these, because most of these are large fucking companies, like we talked about, Walmart and things like that. If we can get these corporations to go up on their minimum wage, it'll spark the community, the smaller businesses, increasing their wages as well, because the economy overall actually gets better. The real economy, not the one that they talk about in the media, because that's not the actual economy. That's like rich
people's
people.
economy.
Like, how comfortable are rich people? It doesn't tell you how the majority of the people are.
I think another problem is, especially here in the U.S., we're fighting so many battles at once. We're fighting the anti-vaxxers, the anti-maskers, the fucking white nationalists who try to fuck up everything, and now and while also trying to fight this capitalistic system. You know, there's only so many battles one can fight, and unfortunately, the right they're banding together and kind of sticking together on these things and making it like. They're
just causing the distractions.
I think they're more close knit than the left.
They're just causing more distractions. That's what it is. That's all this anti-mask shit. That's all that's doing is distracting people from minimum wage stuff.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
It's distraction, and it's planned. I think a lot of the, transphobia. I was listening to a podcast, it probably was Robert Evans, that was playing, like, from the 80s, an old right-wing radio host. He was the guy who really started that whole platform. And he was interviewing a trans woman, and he seemed very accepting. There were no insults. It was a completely different tone. The reason that, like, trans issues are such a thing right now, it's not because anybody really fucking cares. It's a distraction. That's why the right has fueled all this transphobia. Because if you're focusing on fucking men going in the women's bathroom, you're not focusing on these issues over here. It's all, like, it's the fucking Republican Party doing this. Mm-hmm. Like, they cheat, and that's what they're doing. They're like, hey, look at this, not this. They're keeping those people angry
at this instead of what they're doing over here.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's
I think it's implying to their baser instincts of, hey, people that are different than you are doing things. Like, white people are different than me. Fuck them.
But that's what I'm saying. In the 80s, they didn't have that attitude as much when somebody said, I'm transgender.
Yeah,
that's
they also
within the last
were
few years.
Pretty fucking, like, gay people couldn't come out. Like,
yeah,
don't act like there was like you being trans in the 80s was fantastic, and then everything changed. Like,
right,
no, like the life of a trans person throughout all of history
has always been the most.
Has always been shit. Like don't act like it was a big change from everyone was okay with it and now they're not. Like, no, they politicized something that was already there because people don't like people that are different than them.
That's
because
valid,
humans are trash.
Humans are trash. They don't.
I think both are actually right. They found what, like,
they found a trigger.
They found a trigger.
That, yeah.
They exploited it. Okay, if we can focus on this, then they're not watching over here.
And the weird part is they have the power to do that even without showing a proof of a causal problem due to that. You know, they're saying all these problems with, transgender in the bathrooms, and there's no fucking incidents of that.
No, but there's Republican lawmakers in the women's bathroom.
Right, but the point is that they are able to rise as, it's the same thing. So there was no instance of that, yet they made it a big push for it. The fucking teaching history in class that they want to retitle as critical race theory.
Like I said, it's all racism. It's an attack on people different than me.
Correct.
Like...
But in each of those problems, there's never really been an issue of those things being a problem, but they still were able to get their base to latch onto that and
because they're fucking racist, so we need to call them what they are.
We do call them racist, but they latch onto it.
Yeah.
Remember when Hillary called them deplorables? They accepted that shit.
Yeah.
So
that's why I celebrate every fucking COVID death, because I know that it's some asshole who had a chance to get vaccinated.
There's, in fact, who was it? Colin Powell, who just died. He was, yeah, I know. I've seen some people being sad about that, and I'm like, what, why are you sad? But yeah, he was vaccinated.
He was vaccinated, but he didn't have like cancer or some other issues.
Yeah, he had some other issues. But that just shows not everybody who's dying is vaccinated.
He was old and had other issues.
But it doesn't matter. The vaccine, no one has ever touted the vaccine is 100% effective.
Right.
But what the problem is that as soon as that happened, as soon as a very public figure who was fully vaccinated died, then that's became another rallying cry for the vaccine does not fucking work.
Rest in hell, you fucking war criminal that started the fucking.
But the problem is that now they gave them another fucking cannon in their armory for why vaccines don't work. But we've never said
kill yourself. Maybe we'll actually win a vote despite your gerrymandering. Like fucking just kill yourself.
You know what?
People.
This is a perfect time to introduce our very brief ACAB of the week.
Go ahead. This is ACAB of the week.
What are we doing again?
Oh, cops aren't getting vaccinated because they're pieces of shit too.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And they're just quitting in droves.
Not so much in droves like that.
In Denver, it was only 1% of police officers.
The right is telling you that it's in droves, and Fox News is telling you it's in droves, and it's only the loud 1%.
It's just like here in Knox County with the school board. My new nemesis, Caitlin Jones, made a video talking about 491 students left Knox County schools and laid out all the funding. I'm doing the math on that because I'm 491 out of 61,595. I'm that's 0.8%. I'm whoa, that's a big impact. How will we ever recover? But they make the numbers look like they're huge, but in reality, it's 1%.
It's 1 to 5%. It's across the country.
Yeah,
across the country. By and large, people
are the minority.
Yeah,
but
they're happily quitting. Not happily, they're also posting it in tears on their social media how they've served the public for 20 years.
No one cares.
If you serve the public and truly wanted to serve the public, you would wear a mask and you would get vaccinated.
Yep.
That's not serving the fucking country. That's you just fucking stroking your fucking ego because you're a fucking anti-vaxxer and bought into that bullshit.
Yep.
Don't 1 second tell me that your goal is to protect the public.
Their goal is to get internet fame.
We also know that that's not the goal of the police anyways, not to protect the public. That was a Supreme Court case anyways.
Right. It's not their duty to protect and serve.
But yeah, there's the big wave right now is that the police, as these mandates are coming, are just especially in New York City, and Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, clapped back with facts, and I'm not sure which news network it was, probably fucking Fox News. But she's
actually really quick with those.
She's
comebacks,
good.
Man.
She's a good press secretary. I will say that.
I've been impressed with her a few times, and I'm kind of uncomfortable
she clapped back.
With that.
She's like, "Oh, you mean the 93% that are vaccinated in New York City or whatever whatever state they mentioned?
Uh-huh.
These aren't the mass exodus of police people quitting that they think. It's just the."
It is in rural places. That's the number one thing that's killing
they're not going to
them.
have vaccine mandates in rural
places. But it's the number one thing that's killing them.
It is. She said that. She's like, you know what the number one cause of death for police in 2020 and 2021?
It's been COVID. Yes.
She's like, so that's why these vaccines are required. So it's.
I'm for it. I want to go to the COVID ward and just laugh in their face.
But this is getting the worst of the worst out of our police force, so I'm not gonna fucking complain about it.
I'm not shedding a tear.
I'm not. These are the fucking anti-maskers right now. In my opinion, the anti-vaccine people, they come from the worst sect of society.
They're also the ones who are most susceptible to being convinced by misinformation, and right-wing fascism ideology.
Which means they're probably most likely to shoot a black person.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
So what are they going to work at now? Like, what do you think
They'll
they're going to
probably.
do?
I mean,
They'll
Where are
probably
they
just
gonna
go
go?
to another rural state.
no, they'll do private security. They'll become.
They'll work for prisons and start beating up inmates, shit like that.
But that's where they came from. They don't want to go back.
Oh yeah, right. Well,
That's how they indoctrinate the police force.
they'll
They make
do a
them
lot
work
of-
in prisons first.
They'll do private security and they'll do PI work probably.
What's funny is you mentioned that it's there was someone one of the stories I heard was someone a nurse who valiantly quit her job because she refused the vaccine, only to find that the other job she wanted to go to, all the other jobs she wanted to do, also required vaccines. So that's one of my funniest things. Like, get fucked. This is where we're at. Like, there's vaccines have always been a requirement in the United States. This is no different when we're faced with new diseases.
It's kind of hard for them when they've been doing it for so long, and they have to get to a point where they have to admit that they are a fucking moron. Like, the point comes where they're like, wait a second, why haven't I gotten vaccinated? Oh, maybe I was duped. Maybe I believed in some bullshit. Like, they have to admit that they got fooled into believing some propaganda.
And that's a human instinct. That's another part of human instinct. We don't like the human ego is another problem that prevents people from admitting wrong, and especially publicly. Especially if they're a public figure because social media is a driving factor that people who post these things on social media, they don't want to be the ones who say, I was wrong. They can't do it.
I mean, even someone I know that was an anti-vaxxer got COVID, almost fucking died. But afterwards he was like, get the vaccine, it's real. Like, some people do it, but not all of them. Like, some other people that I've heard of, like, their entire family can fucking die of COVID and they won't fucking admit what's going on.
No.
Before we sign off, speaking of social media, I can't wait for Trump's new Truth social.
What about the
my
rebranding of Facebook? They're going to change.
I saw that
they're going to change the name of
metaverse.
Facebook because that's going to help their image.
Yeah.
Oh, there's two.
Oh shit! We tainted the name of Facebook. Time to taint another name.
No, but yeah, Trump's bringing out has announced the creation of a new social media called Truth.
Did you see how his latest release, the statement he said was still formatted like it was a tweet?
Yes, he still can't break the 140 character limit. Like, you have a full page now, bro. You can.
He was president, but he feels like the tweet format was like the most official thing that.
So his new social media is basically another copy of Twitter, just like Getter, which failed, and the other one that had some rise. Right before
Parler.
Yeah, Parler. But now that's almost dead in the water too.
Yeah.
They're getting like 10,000 downloads this
they're
month.
They're all coming back to Facebook.
They're all failing. Yeah, all these conservative, platforms, they're all failing. They've all been hacked. They all have major security problems. Trump's new one in beta, people accessed the beta version within 2 hours and created mock accounts for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Like, they don't have the great smart people working for them on the right, and so these are all doomed to fail. And I can't wait for this one to fail too.
More power to them. Yeah.
Yes. Hey, waste your money. I don't give a fuck. All right, well, that's going to wrap us up for episode 37 of Apostates on the Fringe. Thank you guys again for joining us this week. As always, you can check us out on social media. If you'd like links to the articles or to contact the show, you can visit us at apostatepod.com, and we will see you all next week.
Fuck every Republican.
Fuck capitalism.
Humans suck.
Thank you all very much.
Apostates on the Fringe. Apostates on the Fringe.
The views and opinions of the hosts of Apostates on the Fringe do not represent the views and opinions of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. For links to all our musical contributors, go to apostatepod.com and check the About Us page. A big thank you to Michael Scott Arden, who allows the show to use his full catalog.